Welcome, guys, to the first live stream here at Relative Motion. This can be a little different, so bear with me through this. This is my first time doing this. Let's see. I got a slide to bring up here. But I'm going to keep you entertained with some random facts throughout this while I'm doing some different stuff. Did you know women's high heel shoes actually started on men? So there's your first random fact while I'm getting this loaded. So if you guys have any questions for me through this thing, just make sure to ask them down below. So I have a little slide here to keep me on track during this. So we're going to start out with a little humor, I guess, some dry humor with who built the first aircraft that didn't work? The Wrong brothers. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So like I said, you guys can ask questions at any point. I'm an aircraft mechanic, and it's technically called an A&P technician. And what that means, is, so the A stands for airframe, and the P stands for power plant. So there's different certifications you get with the it's a license you would receive. I like to say aircraft mechanic just because that makes more sense to more people, but you do have to have that certification to have that. And the only difference is that what you can work on with those two different certifications. So an A means airframe, so you can work on pretty much the whole aircraft besides the engine. And then the P stands for power plant, which is also known as the engine. And you can also use that just to work on the engine. So if you guys have any questions about that or working on aircraft or anything, feel free to ask through this. I'm also blown away with how many subscribers are joining to this channel I created. So thank you guys so much. And I hope to see you around some more. So some things I wanted to talk about through this, like I said, so typically, thanks for the question there, Quiet Falcon. Typically, people go to trade school for an A&P license. I actually went to college. There's a few colleges around the country that do that. But like I said, most people go to trade schools, and the really lucky people actually, they can get started just working for any company basically as an apprenticeship, and that will get you the hours that you need to actually get the license. So it's a great way to get the license for free, or even maybe get paid to do it. And Demir, get me a pair of high heel shoes too. Maybe we can bring them back. So like I said, I'm going to keep you guys entertained through this, since it is my first live stream. Hopefully it won't be too messy, but with my random fact. So here's your random fact number 2. Did you know that some cats are actually allergic to human beings? So I don't have a really set length for this live stream. Thank you guys, whoever's here right now, for showing up. If you guys have, depending on how much interaction we get or whatever, depends on how long this live stream will go. So like I said, keep those questions going. So, sorry, I'm having trouble seeing my screen. I didn't think this through a little bit. Let's go to the next slide here. So some news here on Relative Motion. I'm actually currently working on a website that will hopefully host a lot of different things for this channel, and will help get this channel like more things, more accessible things. Let me answer a few questions here quick. So what's my favorite aircraft? That's a tough question. certainly have a lot. So I think probably the best, I would just have to say the best aircraft of all time is probably the DC-3. I'm also going to be drinking a little bit through this because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. And make sure, and if you guys can't hear me okay, make sure to let me know. So yeah, the DC-3, that just because it was such a successful aircraft for such a long time. What other question we got here? Well, that's a good question, Sherry. Thanks for that. So this gets me into, I guess, okay, good to hear. So this gets into kind of maybe a heated field or a hot topic with smaller airplanes. Like I've said on this show, or maybe alluded to, they tend to be a lot less reliable than bigger jets for obvious reasons. Mostly just like a small plane usually only has one engine, a big jet will have two, so that's more reliable for that reason. So to me, some of the most dangerous aircraft, and I say dangerous relatively because I still think they're incredibly safe to travel in, but those single engine small planes, since they have maybe an unreliable engine to begin with, people like having those parachutes in there as the ultimate backup, basically, because ultimately too, a parachute will save you from other things failing too. Like even if your wing flies off, a parachute will still bring you to the ground safely. But if you don't, obviously you can't land an airplane like that. So it is more safe, I would say, in general, if you do have a parachute as the ultimate authority to get you back on the ground safely. But I think a curious thing about really small aircraft actually is they can, they get down to maybe 300 feet sometimes, and landing distance 600 feet. So a lot of non-airports now become maybe a lot easier to land safely on, like a field or a road or something, because you can land in such a short distance, and you have a shorter wingspan and all that stuff with a smaller plane. So I think those parachutes are actually great options for small planes, especially if it's one that, is still what you'd think as an airplane with a propeller. And a piston engine is mostly what I'm talking about too. If you have an aircraft like that, it might take, 1,000, 1,500 feet to take off. And especially if you have an aircraft like that, I think those parachutes are particularly useful in those. What's the riskiest type of aircraft to fly? Might have to think on that one. But yeah, interestingly, there's one small jet that Cirrus makes that has a parachute as well, and it's a jet. So even some jets have parachutes. That's a single engine jet though, so I don't know if the thought there is it's maybe less reliable. Sorry, I need some more water here. I'm not used to doing this much talking. So oh, hey, Joseph. Good to see you here. Helicopters are pretty dangerous. That's a good question, Demir. I actually haven't used that aircraft, or that I'd love to use that, and I think it is probably a great way to get into it if you can afford those flight simulators. It's a great way to just get a lot of practice with really no danger involved. How high can generally? Well, that really depends on how high, or I'm sorry, that really depends on what type of helicopter, I guess it is. So if it's a piston helicopter, you're probably not going to get much more wood. I don't know, 10,000 feet. If it's a turbine, you might get up to 15,000. Well, 15,000, and it really depends on if you're, as far as I know, because full disclaimer, I'm not a helicopter pilot. I'm just a mechanic. But as far as I know, it's a lot easier to go higher with a helicopter if it's just in stable flight versus if you actually want to hover with it or try and land. That's a lot harder to do at a high altitude. I guess to me, maybe the riskiest type of aircraft would be something, like I said, maybe a small, they usually call them general aviation aircraft. That's kind of the category they call small aircraft or even helicopters, that most regular people might own or something like that. But those piston powered, aircraft, I think, that need a longer runway can be pretty dangerous. But I think there's a lot of things that are more like the mentality of the pilot, I think, can be a lot more dangerous than anything. Really, the aircraft isn't necessarily the only thing that can be dangerous when you're flying, because most aircraft accidents these days are pilot error. So thanks for the questions, guys. Those are good questions. If you want to keep them up or got any more, keep them coming. So like I said, I got this website in the works that is hopefully going to allow this channel to grow more and have some cool ideas that right now we're focusing mostly on aviation, but I hope to maybe branch out to some other stuff later on. And I've canceled I had a Patreon account under some videos. I haven't had much success with that, so I'm trying to maybe go a new angle with, and I got some pictures for you, with some ideas of crowdfunding that I might do through my website of some cool ideas. And one of those, if I can pull this up here quick. Here, I'll give you another random fact while we're waiting. The saying, "Oh my God," that people use to text now, OMG, that was actually originated in 1975. I'm sorry, 1917. So that's pretty old, older than phones. So let me pull this up here. So this is a Hummingbird. It's one of my, I have so many favorite aircraft, but it's a really cool little aircraft. It's what I would say is probably most well known for being the smallest ultralight. It's the smallest ultralight. No, I don't think I'm saying that right. It's the smallest all metal aircraft, and it is an ultralight aircraft technically. And I think it's the only all metal ultralight aircraft. Let me answer this question quick from Joseph. Oh, he looks like he's commenting more on the danger of certain aircraft. I would like to do more RV videos in the future. I really plan on putting them more out when hopefully I can get back to, doing these doing this live stream has had some learning to do with it. So it's put a little impact in me putting out videos. So hopefully I can get back to putting out even 2 videos a week here soon. And if I can do that, I'd really like to throw in an RV video there. But unfortunately I can't bite the hand that feeds, and most of my channel's growth is coming from aviation. So, and it is kind of my background, so I am sticking to that a little more. Anyways, back to the Hummingbird. One of the cool ideas I think maybe for this channel, since I'm a mechanic, I like to maybe shed some more of the expertise maybe I have. And this is an aircraft you actually build from scratch. So if I could get some funding to start that project, I could definitely do like a whole video series on how to build an aircraft from scratch. I just think that'd be a lot of fun. Show the, all of how an airplane works and how it's put together. Obviously, it's a very small scale, but it gets a lot of the ideas across. Here's another picture of it being built, just to give you an idea. I think that part at the back you're looking at there is the what they call the rear spar of an aircraft. So that's the main structural piece of a flight surface. They'll have one of those usually through the tail of the aircraft on the stabilizers, what they call, if you want to call them back wings, some people will say that, but technically they're called stabilizers. And those, they try to make them as lightweight as possible. So they usually have a main structural element that runs through them, and a lot of it's hollow, and that's the main structural element you see in there. Looks like they don't have the wing spar in yet, but as far as spars go, that's probably it's probably the tiniest one out there because it's the smallest all-metal aircraft. Usually they're a lot bigger than that. They almost look like a big aluminum I-beam or something like that. It's pretty crazy. It'll be pretty thick aluminum. So that's an idea I have for that. I might do some just basic maintenance videos anyways, just like how to safety wire stuff. If you're familiar with safety wire, I'm going to talk about safety wire on this, maybe just a little bit for fun. I think that's a good intro to aviation maintenance topic to talk about for fun. This is some safety wire, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Let me get back to our PowerPoint here. Throw out another fact for you. Stop signs were originally yellow. I hope these are true. I just looked them up on the internet, but PowerPoint. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I know it's probably a little bit of a drag at times, but I'm trying my best. So let's get back to where we were here. So, like I said, that Hummingbird, I have some other ideas for some projects potentially that would need funding because I just don't have the funds to build an aircraft and stuff. But that's my hope with this channel, is to be able to do some cool stuff. So I've been meaning to do this for a little while because I had one offer a little while ago, but it like disappeared or something. But I wanted to have a more formal way because I'd like to maybe do walk-arounds of aircraft. I think that'd be really cool, or walk-arounds of any vehicles, I guess. More in-person videos. I was able to go to an air show on September 11th this year for the 20th anniversary. So I have some cool footage from that I'm going to be showing. So that just got me on the path more of I'd like to do more in-person, walk-around type videos. So I'm hopefully going to start putting that email in the end of videos, and if anyone sees it that's got a cool airplane or whatever, maybe I can do some walk-around videos. That'd be really cool. I was hoping to get it out today. It doesn't look like it's happening because, unfortunately, this live stream took more time, as all these things do. Oh, looks like I got another question there. I'll answer that in a sec. So, like I was saying, that video is not coming out. I might release it just midweek next week, depending on if I'm able to get another video going enough that I think I can release it by next weekend, because I'm trying to release at least one video every weekend. That's definitely my goal. So I also did the Phenom 300 because the Phenom 100 video I did well. So I think people might be interested in the bigger version. That's also, I think, probably the better one of the two, but I think it's one of the best. It's the best medium jet in the world, but you'll have to tune in more for that. I don't want to talk about it too much. You'll have to tune into that episode to see that. And let me answer this question first. What are some of the most difficult things to repair on aircraft? There's some tough questions. So what's the most difficult thing to repair on aircraft? A lot of the time, well, I would say probably the hardest thing to repair are what are called intermittent problems. Those are, problems that are not always there. So like an example, let's say there's a light bulb on the aircraft and you're flying around with it, and you flip it on and it works, and then you flip it on again, it doesn't work, and then you flip it off and flip it on again and it works. So it just occasionally doesn't work. Those are the hardest problems to figure out, because if it's working, there's nothing wrong with it. So it's really hard to find something wrong with it. If you can get it while it's broken, that's a lot different of a story. So those are probably the biggest pain in the necks. Specific areas, working on fuel systems is usually a pain, because especially if aircraft can get pretty large fuel tanks, and you start getting into a larger aircraft, which some I worked on, you actually have to like crawl around inside them and stuff. So that's a lot of fun. Some things are difficult, some things are just not fun, I would say, and those are two different things. Diagnosing problems and finding information sometimes, if it's hard to find about an aircraft, about how to do something, those can be difficult problems where sometimes there's just pain in the neck problems. What's the cheapest, most maintainable, and most reliable helicopter? Well, unfortunately, those things all don't go well together, because usually the more reliable it is, the more expensive it's going to be. Most maintainable. There are differences with maintaining helicopters. I won't say there won't, but a lot of them are pretty equivalent as far as maintenance goes. I would say there are necessarily some that are worse than others. If you're talking about jets, there are a few jets that have a really bad reputation in maintenance, but that's jets, not helicopters. So cheapest and most reliable, I'd say that's one of the videos I just did, which is the Mosquito XET, it's got a turbine engine, which a lot of the larger, more expensive helicopters have that. And that's the power plant if you ask most people, that's what's desirable in a helicopter. Sorry, mouth is getting dry again. You got a drink. And there's another helicopter really similar to that called the Helicycle. They're pretty similarly priced. I think the Helicycle can be a little cheaper, but either of those helicopters would probably be the cheapest and most reliable, and it'd be decently maintainable too, I'd say. Hi, Wendy. How are you? Let's see what you got here. Yeah, I'd love to get my own pilot's license. It's hopefully, I've had a couple more ideas for some things fun on this channel. Like one of the easiest things to do if you want to get into aviation, let me see if I can pull up a picture here of it so you guys get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But I'd like to do maybe some videos on this, because this is a lot more affordable way to learn to fly. Hopefully my typing isn't too loud here. I got, unfortunately, a little bit loud of a keyboard. Paramotoring is what it's called. And it's basically when you just strap a parachute. Well, you have a parachute, and then you wear this backpack that has a giant fan on it with an engine, and you can fly around. Let's see if I can get this over here. So that's paramotoring. And I'd love to do like a couple videos about like learning to do that, because I've never done it. And if I went and learned how to do it, I just think that'd be a video people would find fun. But pilot's license, unfortunately, is a lot more expensive. They can be, it's really up in the air, and it depends on if you want like a helicopter license too, or a fixed wing and everything that you want. But they can easily cost 10 grand or somewhere around that. So that's unfortunately a little harder to get. I'd love to get it someday. And it's maybe something I'd work towards. I don't know the licenses super well, but there's you start off with what that Hummelbird was I was talking about earlier. So still got that picture up. So oops, here it is. That's considered an ultralight. You actually don't need any license at all to fly that, so which is pretty crazy. And I probably wouldn't suggest that for anyone, but that's the easiest entry into flying. Then you step up from there to light sport, and that's definitely a lot more affordable. And that'd probably be what I'd get first. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know as a fact, but I'm pretty sure the hours you getting a light sport license transfers to a pilot's license. If anyone knows that, they can comment better. But I'd probably get a light sports license first, which is, at probably half the cost or something like that. So let me make sure I answered your whole question there, Wendy. Yeah. And I'd love to do videos. Obviously, if I built this plane someday, I'd love to do videos flying around and everything. The whole complete package of building it from nothing to flying it around still. I mean, continuing to fly it around maybe. Let me answer this last question here. Yeah, that's a great question, Amir. That's one of the highest stresses about that job. Is time is money, and especially with the things, the larger aircraft, and I mean, even the small aircraft are expensive too, but the large aircraft, you're talking millions of dollars. And when it's down, you're talking thousands of dollars. And people, one of the biggest costs a lot of people don't realize of an aircraft compared to like a car or something is the maintenance, because, if you buy a car, there's no required maintenance that I mean, if you have a state inspection or something, they might require you to get something done like that. But besides that, all maintenance is pretty much voluntary, and people might not do any. So that's not a huge expense for a car, versus with an aircraft, there's inspections built in that the more you use it, and even if you don't use it, it has to be inspected so often to keep it working. So not sure where I was going with that, but it does lead to a lot of pressure. I don't want to say like searching for words here. I don't want to say like a auto mechanic isn't a stressful job, because I'm sure it is, and they have time restraints too. It's just, I think the difference is, generally, I mean, obviously you can still kill someone, I think, if you mess a car up bad enough. But generally speaking, if something fails on a car, they can pull over or something, versus, obviously in an aircraft, you can't do that. So there's a lot more, regarded for safety. So that's just another added level of stress to the profession. But yeah, great questions, guys. Thanks for those. Let's get back to this PowerPoint here. I'm running out of fun facts. I should have got more. And so the last thing here. Oh, let me bring this back up. I can figure this out here. Oops. I have ordered some stickers for the show. It's the first fun product that we have here. So my hope is once I get this website up, I'll be selling those for about $5 for here on out, or for the foreseeable future, I should say. And then my plan is I have some shirts on the way I'm checking out. Fortunately, shirts have a little bit higher cost of entry to get enough to sell them and stuff. So gone with the stickers first just to see how those sell. And so I might be doing shirts in the future too. And that will be all on this website, magicopus.com. unfortunately, relative motion was already taken, so I had to kind of come up with a new name for this show to hang out on. So that's kind of the and that's what the email will be called too. If you want to contact me, if you have any questions too, I mean, that email is not just for people who want to do walkarounds. It's just an email for this channel. So if you have a cool idea or anything, don't be shy to send an email to that email. But anyways, I'm going to have a little giveaway actually of one sticker here. If I'm going to do a little trivia question here at the very end. So look out for that. I am kind of wrapping up here, I guess, at the end. Wow, we've been doing this for 30 minutes. It's my first time doing this again, so it's a new experience for me. Looks like we've gotten some more people though, so good to see you guys here. Not sure if, seems like maybe most of you are viewers of my channel, but if anyone's here that doesn't know me, welcome. I'll probably wrap this up soon if you guys don't have any more questions. If you do, feel free to ask them now. I guess I can talk about the safety wire here quick. I thought that'd be a fun little thing to talk about that I've done way too much of. I could tell you all about it for days, and it's a really important part of aviation. You know, I want to say it's a really important part. It's almost more a symbolic part of aviation, or aviation maintenance, if I could say that. So let me pull this up here. Some of you probably, maybe if you fly and stuff, I'm sure you've seen this around aircraft, but it's this kind of bizarre, if you're not familiar with aircraft or you've never seen this, it's a bizarre way that they keep, it's one of the ways they help keep aircraft together. You know, with a bolt or a screw or anything, there's obviously threads. There might be a nut or something it threads into, and to keep the aircraft together, those need to stay together and not unthread. So a lot of, I won't say every bolt, but more bolts than you could believe, or screws or whatever they are put together basically with, let me see if I can find a, oh, that's a perfect picture right there. So most of the bolts, and these are all, sorry, I need another drink here before I talk about this. Most of the bolts, well, all the bolts in aviation, they, or any hardware, they're all specially made for aviation only, and they're obviously way more, and they actually come with like paperwork and crazy stuff a lot of the times. And so you have to get these bolts. A lot of times they're stronger too and stuff, but a lot of them, they're drilled basically on the head, as you can see in this picture. I'm pointing over here. Oh, I guess I was pointing the right way. But there's holes drilled in the head. Basically, they go all the way through, and that allows you to stick a wire through there, and a metal wire is usually what I think it always is a metal wire. I've never seen it not a metal wire. Thin metal wire, and you can it's thin enough that you can wrap it up basically and twist it. And you twist it once it's through there. Go back to this. Where's that other better picture here? You can twist it, and you can see the twist here. If you can, you can see my cursor. So you twist it to the next bolt, lace it through there. It's almost like string or something if you want to think of it like that, but it is metal. And then you tie it off at the end. And because I'm getting some more questions, so I'll get to those in just a sec. And obviously the most important thing with this is it's going in the right direction. So, righty tighty, lefty loosey with pretty much everything. So this is wanting, hopefully you guys can see my cursor, but this is wanting to turn this way. Sad I have to think about this. Wants to turn this way to loosen. So you pull it this way to the next one. So it's always pulling tight, not loose. And the whole point of all this, if you haven't figured it out, is to keep these bolts in place. So if it's in the tightening direction on all of them, and you can see it on these too, these are, looks like Phillips screws they're trying to show you here. but because a screw can be drilled too, just the same. And there's all sorts of patterns and different stuff you can do. I might do a video just on this someday if there's enough interest. But and I actually want to do a video on maybe how to do this. This might be one of the first like how-to videos I do, because it is kind of an art. But with some of the places you have to put, it's all easy when it's like right here in front of you. But if it's in some crazy place, up in here, it becomes a lot more difficult to get that all tied up. But this is the secret glue that holds aircraft together, if you didn't know about it. Here's some more pattern. I mean, there's all sorts of different patterns and stuff. I couldn't tell you all of them, but there's certainly a general pattern. 90% of probably the safety wire you see is just like this. So let me get back to some questions here. If you guys have any questions on safety wire too, you can ask them. Yeah, there's definitely. Oh, you got me 2 pairs of high heels, Demir. I appreciate that. Hot pink and rose red. Real men wear pink, I guess. So I'll take the pink pair. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure. I mean, even this right here is a perfect example of this is. I think it's a pretty tedious thing to do, and this takes time, and people want their aircraft, and this has to be done right, or it's not safe. So whether it's, I think you said airplanes, any aircraft, it can be stressful. Even if you're the guy that packs parachutes, that's a pretty important job that you don't want to screw up. So there's, I'm sure, pressure on that guy if he's got to do so many parachutes a day. But ultimately, hopefully in aviation, that safety is your most, important thing. And even if it costs money, it can't go out if it's not safe. So, trying to think if there's anything to talk about with safety wire. I think I covered most of it. And this is probably something I might get into too. You see, this is the other super common. Let me see if I can find a picture of one of these. Drilled threads on aircraft bolt. Yeah, there we go. So they'll do the same thing to the threads sometimes, which actually, I mean, it weakens the bolt a little bit, but they build it so with that in mind. So, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I mean, this weakens it too, drilling ahead in a bolt. Anytime you remove material, this is going to be less strong. But they build these with that in mind. But anyways, they'll put holes down here too. The whole, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen one. I'm trying to think where it's safetied here and here. That's pretty crazy, but it probably exists. And that's what they call anytime, a fastener is put in with something to keep it from coming out. That's just a common industry term, as I'll call it, a safety. Here's a looks like a spar, maybe. That's a bigger spar like I was talking about earlier. You can see how thick some of this aluminum is. That's a lot thicker than like the skin of the aircraft, obviously. Let me see if I don't see one with a cotter pin, because that's usually, man, I can't find a good example, unfortunately. Here we go. So with that drilled threads, here's your nut that you would screw onto this. You can see the side view here. Here's your nut, and then here's your, it's not threaded here, but you can't see it because the nut's covering up. Here's your threaded part, and then the hole is going straight through the whole thing. And if you look at the overhead view, you can see this, and this is a cotter pin. It's just if you've never seen one, it's just basically a piece of metal that's long and then bent in half. So you can see, this is a loop here. It's all one piece. It starts here, goes down, loops around. When you get a cotter pin, though, it's bent together like this, and these pieces would be, straight here. So you put it in, and then you bend it back. And when you do that, obviously it can't come out now. And this is just another really common safety that you see on aircraft. It's 99% of the time I'd probably, well, maybe not that much, but maybe 95% of the time, it's going to be this or the safety wire that holds a lot of the airplanes together. I mean, I say that lightly because if everything's correct and going right, those pins and bolts are not going to come loose. It's just on the off chance one does come loose, that will keep it somewhat together. And you can obviously see that from the fact that cars don't just have bolts falling out of it all the time, but they do fall out, and obviously that's a lot less desirable on an aircraft. So hopefully I probably wrap this up here. Hopefully I didn't talk too much or too little about safeties. I appreciate you guys showing up here so much. Hopefully I might do another one of these in the future. And I got to do my giveaway here. So the trivia question, and the first person I just want it within about 10% because that's what I use in my tables for my videos. Let me make me bigger here again. So that's what I use in my tables as a rough rule of thumb that, that's within that range. I don't know what I'm trying to say here with the 10%, but your answer has to be within 10% of the correct answer. That's what I'm looking for, ish. And the trivia question is, and the first person to put the answer in the comments is going to get the sticker. So you're going to have to email me to that email. I'll say it again at the end here, but email I said earlier, your address, and I can send you out a sticker. But the trivia question is, since I obviously done a lot of helicopters, we're going to do it on the R-22, the Robinson 22, if you're familiar with that helicopter. And the trivia, I might do more giveaways like this too. So the trivia is always going to be probably from one of those tables. But to get to the point, what is the range of a Robinson R-22? And you have to be within 10%. So the first person put that in the comments is going to get a free sticker. Let's see if I have, while we're waiting here. Actually, I got to make sure I know the right answer. All right. Let's see if there's any facts I miss for fun here. Oh, there's one left. Okay. So in 2014, I think it's probably the only time, but there was a Tinder match. If you don't know what Tinder is, it's an online dating app. Probably most of you know that, but it's an online dating app, and there was a match in Antarctica. So that's probably the only time that's ever happened. You guys can guess any number if you want, even if it's completely off. I won't penalize you for guessing too many times. See if there's anything left to talk about. I guess I can talk about some more of this real quick while we're waiting. There's a lot of hardware here. What can I talk about in this picture? Oh, sorry, Demir. So what is the range? Hopefully you guys can hear me well too still. What's the range of Robinson R-22 helicopter is the question. And you only have to be within 10% of the correct answer. Yep, it has to be in miles. Sorry, I didn't specify that. So the furthest distance the helicopter can go. And you can cheat and look it up. I'm not going to. This might be who can look it up the fastest. But I'm going to go back here while we're waiting. So hopefully some people aren't too bored. Let's see if I can make this bigger. So if you can see here, maybe there's a little red disc or whatever you want to call it that sits 250. I think that might be close enough. It's close. Now I'm doing math on the show. Isn't that exciting? 28, 240. We're getting close. I think I'm giving out too much information. So let me check 250 here first, because that's really close. I can't think. Nope, that's not close enough, unfortunately. And Joseph, you are incorrect as well. But that might give away something. So anyways, this red part here, hopefully I can finish this up before someone gets the right answer. It's called it's called I'll call it a safety, I guess. Because I'm drawing a blank for what it's really called. But it's basically a hard rubber they put in there. That's another type of safety you'll see. And it's a lot more basic because it's just I guess I'd call it a friction lock. So it's just, those nuts will be very hard to put on. You always have to use a ratchet or a wrench or something to put those on. They won't just thread on it by hand until they're tight. 280. Let's see if that. Yeah, I'm looking for 287. If that's what I have in my chart, and hopefully my chart's correct. So Wendy is the winner. Demir 500. That'd be nice. You might be able to, if you did some crazy setup on there, you might be able to get it that far. But stock, I don't think the Robinson will fly that far, unfortunately. So Wendy, if you want to, now I'm drawing a blank for my words again. If you want to email me, or I guess you can text me since I do secretly know you, but you can email me if you want at magic.opus@hotmail.com. And Opus is OPUS. And then, well, thanks guys for your participation in that. And let me finish up talking about this, I guess, and I'll wrap this up. So, because I know it's really suspenseful. This is basically a friction lock. So when you this is too small, but let's say it threads on something like this, maybe. When you start threading it on there, as soon as you get to that red part, it's gonna become really difficult to put on. And I'd say the interesting part about those nuts, unfortunately, doesn't always happen, but generally speaking, those nuts, every time they're tightened down and then pulled off again, they probably should be replaced, because that friction will wear out over time, and you want a decent amount of friction left on that nut to be able to hold it there still. And if that friction's not there, like I said, hopefully it never comes loose anyways, but if that nut becomes loose for some reason, it has a lot harder time working its way off there. That's probably one of the less good safeties, I'd say. And safety wires, pretty tried and true, and you can't beat that. But which is why that's the first one I talked about. That's generally the most common safety. But like I said, guys, thank you so much for joining. I'd like to do more of these in the future, and until I see you next time, I'm James Bodhi, and you've been watching Relative Motion.